part of me feels like I'm being a little ungrateful doing this video, bruh, but I think it's time to have a conversation. And I didn't write anything down. I didn't go into this trying to have this list of things I want to check off to talk about with Kevin O'Connell, but I do have to discuss what's going on with our boy Kevin O'Connell, man. The head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, man. Everybody knows I've been a fan of Kevin O'Connell during the time where we brought in, when it was Jim Harbaugh, my Michigan coach, or it was Kevin O'Connell. I wanted to go Kevin O'Connell. I felt like the younger, the innovative, all of those types of things were things that I envisioned my team, my favorite team in the Minnesota Vikings. I envisioned that being a success story leading into the following years after we signed Kevin O'Connell to be the head coach of this football team. And I got to say, man, I'm still a fan, okay? I don't want this to come off as, oh, Raps jumping off the ship of Kevin O'Connell. Now he's ready to move on, because that is not the case. I believe Kevin O'Connell needs to be this head coach of this football team. I really do. I believe that. All right, wholeheartedly do. But when it came to the offensive play calling, I backed him up and backed him up and backed him up for the past 3 years, really, the past 3 years. But I think it's time now that we have to have a conversation. But I also want to put a little bit of context to it, because we have to admit that Kevin O'Connell hasn't been dealt the best hand when you're talking about the quarterback position. I know a lot of people focus on the quarterback position and Kevin O'Connell. Those two things are tied together. Kevin O'Connell was brought in here as a former quarterback to locate the Minnesota Vikings' future quarterback, to then develop him and to make him a Super Bowl contending quarterback. That is the plan. I feel like going into the interview process with Kevin O'Connell, that was probably the main thing on the list was, hey, how are you going to do this? How are you going to locate him? We got Kirk Cousins on the team right now. What are you going to do this year with him while this contract drains out? And then your move after that, finding us a quarterback that we can root for, that can take us to that place that we want to go. All right. And so far, you got to admit, the luck hasn't been on his side. We talking about his second year where Kirk Cousins goes down and then he has to makeshift some type of quarterback room. And we saw what that ended up being, and still winded up winning 7 games. And then you got Sam Darnold coming in because J.J. McCarthy got hurt, and then he wins 14 games. So at the end of the day, that right there, you can call a success story. And then you got this year where, hey, J.J. McCarthy gets hurt again. Now we got Carson Wentz coming in, trying to hold it down in the meantime, in between time. So he hasn't really had an opportunity, in my opinion, to really lock in and for us as fans to see what actually can be. I think there's a gray area where we don't know what can be yet, because we keep getting setback after setback after setback. But that's neither here nor there, man. There's a couple things that Kevin O'Connell must change, and he must change them quickly. All right, or Vikings fans are getting impatient, bro. I see it, and I'm gonna put myself in that boat too. There's things that I'm impatient with when it comes to Kevin O'Connell, man, and play calling is one, man. Shout out Randy. There's obviously, I don't want to just give Randy all the flowers, because there's been other people in our community, man, that have been stressing that Kevin O'Connell should not be calling plays. He should not be the play caller. He needs to hand that duty to somebody else. And I think now I'm kind of jumping on board. It took me a little bit, but I will admit today, I think I'm part of that team now, because I do believe he needs to give it up. I do believe there needs to be somebody. My only issue is I don't think he will. I've stated that over and over again, like, hey, I would be fine with the idea, because I do believe that it could possibly be an upgrade. But at the end of the day, I do not believe Kevin O'Connell is willing to give up that duty. I think he takes too much pride in it. Kevin O'Connell will lose his job before he gives up that play calling duty. I just do. I just believe. Now, does that mean he won't allow Wes Phillips to maybe get more involved? That's another story, but that's something we will never know, because that's something that will be discussed behind the scenes. And we're not going to be there to say, okay, Kevin O'Connell actually gave more power to Wes Phillips to really come up with the play calling now. We won't know that, because they're not going to blast that and put that in the forefront. But that's neither here nor there, man. But another thing that I think needs to be discussed, man, and it's this offensive line, and specifically this coaching. And I did a video on that. Chris Cooper, bro. Chris Cooper needs to be fired. Kevin O'Connell, this is on you. Okay, now if you want to put it on Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, we can do that too. But you are the head coach and you notice your team is not performing, specifically that offensive line with talented players on that offensive line year after year, honestly. Because now we're seeing that the talent wasn't as bad as we thought it was. I think it's the scheme. I think it's the coaching. I think it's not wanting to play for that said guy. And Chris Cooper needs to be walked out the door, man. He needs to be walked out the door. Year after year, this guy has been able to go up under the radar with no repercussions. None at all. And that's just not fair for us as Minnesota Vikings fans. It's not fair for these players that have to line up, bro. Do you know the offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings in 2025 is the worst that I've ever seen it? Almost the worst I've ever seen it. And we were super intentional on going defensive line, offensive line, trying to bolster that up, get it ready for J.J. McCarthy to have the maximum protection, have a running game that's just, running it down teams' throats. And it's been the complete opposite, bro. The complete opposite. I mean, this offensive line is trash, bro. Like, seriously, man. It is hard to watch. It really is, man. I mean, you got guys not even touching rushers. They're not even touching them. Not even touching them. Just letting them come in. That is crazy, bro. That is unacceptable. That is a fireable offense for the coach. The coach has to take accountability here, man. Chris Cooper, you have to take accountability, but we are going to put this on Kevin O'Connell to make that decision. You have to do it. You dragged your feet. All right. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the year of 2022 when you dragged your feet with Ed Donatel. You dragged it all the way to the end. You gave him chance after chance after chance. We were telling you that it's time to move on in the middle of the season. Let's get rid of this guy before the playoffs start so that we can actually have an opportunity to win a game. You didn't want to listen, bruh. You didn't want to listen. And he ended up costing us big time in the playoff game. Because why? Because we played bend, don't break. And it was just hilarious to watch because you're sitting there like, yo, this is serious right now. We're really doing this right now. We're really doing it. Ed Donatel is really doing this right now. All right. What I don't want to happen is to let this season drag on. Look, man, we're a month in. This is the time right now to make the decision and get him up out of there, bruh. Bring somebody else in. Let's rejuvenate this offensive line coaching, this coaching staff, because that actually may play a big part in these guys performing a little better. Something new. I know some of the guys are new to the team and they don't really know about Chris Cooper like that. And it may be a new situation for them, bro. But like, there's something there and he is the common denominator year after year. You have to get rid of it. You have to get rid of it, man. No disrespect to him. Walk him out the door lightly, but he got to walk out the door. Kevin O'Connell, man, this is something that I'm definitely going to be talking about a lot when it comes to you. I do like you. Look, I'm thankful that you are the head coach because, again, I'll say it. We've won a ton of football games with you being the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. We've scored a lot of points, but situational football play calling, hey, man, look, because that is so important to winning football games, I will be on the side of you passing up that duty to someone else. All right. And then you have to drag them, bruh. You have to drag them and make sure that when somebody needs to be held accountable and possibly get fired, because it is what it is, man, they will find a job somewhere else, man. They are millionaires. I don't want anybody. I'm not out here advocating for people to lose their jobs or nothing like that. We're not talking about, Joe Smo, the manager at Walmart or something like that, or a guy like me that's in sales getting fired. We're talking about millionaires that are out there having fun, playing a kid sport, making millions doing it and coaching it. He needs to go, period, bruh. Enough said, man. Vikings fans are losing their patience, including RAP, man, when it comes to Kevin O'Connell. And he needs to do something big to show that he still has control of this football team and he's still willing to adapt to what's going on now in 2025. Because what was working in 2022, 23, 24, it's not working this year, bro. And we see it. Even though we're 2-2 and we're 500 and the season is not over, far from it. Ton of football to play. I still believe in this team. But I do think something needs to be done sooner than later, KO. Let's make it happen, man. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Holla at your boy.
Yeah. Smooth summer. Who running? I hear them talking, but they ain't gonna do nothing. Celebration, I might have a toast with you. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great, I'm terrific. We ain't taking no losses, we winning. Undefeated. the percentage.